and welcome to the Boys and the Bus podcast. This is your bus home from, it's still called Brockville, no? What's it called?
I still call it Brockville. To be fair, I still call St Mirren's Stadium Love Street. So, yeah, I still call it Brockville.
Still Brockville to me. Celtic scraped through with a solitary goal in a 1-0 victory that if any of us needed any kind of reminder that we're not very good, that was it. And we got that reminder, but also managed to keep our title aspirations in the balance, shall we say. 16 games to go, 6 points behind. It's not just going to be a case of Martin O'Neill coming back in and everything is plain sailing. I'm your host, Terry. I'm joined tonight by the gaffer, Phil McGinley. Phil, where are we at with subscribers now? We must be near 1,500, aren't we?
We're over 1,500. Yeah, we've went over 1,500. To be fair, I've meant to shout this out in the last few shows, but just slipped my mind. But yeah, we've had a big spike. You won't be surprised to hear this off the back of quite a chaotic month of December. As we know, misery likes company, and yeah, it kind of backs up my claim. The more interactions the channel gets, the more it gets pushed by YouTube, and plenty of people have discovered this. I'm sure a few of those subscribers aren't necessarily Celtic fans, but nevertheless, a subscription is always always thankful for it. So yes, we're over 59. Is it 1,550 or something like that? The last time I checked, they're in about there.
Tell the good people what they can do, Phil, to help us out.
Oh, well, they can do all the good stuff. Again, just more interactions helps the channel out. So, of course, hit the like button and help us out in the old algorithm. Celtic content, more likely to pop up on YouTube for people who like that sort of stuff. Podcast-related content, we're more likely to get pushed in their direction. Obviously, hit the subscribe buttons we're just talking about there. 1,500 plus people already done it, so why don't you as well? Get involved in the comment section. Let us know what you thought of the game, the pros and the cons of it. There was quite a balance, I think, quite a mixed bag tonight. And also share the link of the channel far and wide. And of course, if you wish to become a Boys in the Bus member and get a little virtual Celtic scarf next to your name on YouTube and other comments highlighted and whatnot, then you can do so as well for $1.99 a month. And as I always say, none of our content will ever be behind a paywall or on Patreon or anything. Will always be free here on YouTube. It's just a wee doff of the cap to the team. And there you go. All that said and done, we're good to go.
The manager's speaking there at the minute, Phil. I don't see any new player standing beside him. We're 14 days into the January transfer window and still no striker, no hint of a striker, no hint of any player that has got me remotely interested in even looking at his YouTube or anything. It's just another window that takes its place alongside the previous one, the one before that, the one before that, the one before that. They said they'd learn from their mistakes. They said we'd see a different window in January. I'm not seeing anything different whatsoever. Let's look at the game first, then we'll touch on transfers and what you think may or may not happen in the coming days and weeks. Team lineup, as always, Phil, that came through. No real surprises. Same back line as Saturday. The only change was Negrin coming in for Hitati. Given that Negrin has been our main goal threat this season, and again, proved to be the match winner tonight. I think he's worth his place in the team. He's not everyone's cup of tea, but can you imagine just where we would be without his goals?
I know.
Yang, based on good form, got a start. Tanetke also played well at the weekend. Was absolutely dreadful tonight. I thought from minute one. I've been a real supporter of his. I've backed him when other people have thrown in the towel. There's no defence I can make for him tonight.
Agreed.
Dyson Maida through the middle, pretty non-existent, to be honest, again. And then probably just the bench was maybe notable for the omissions as such. So Stephen Welsh has come back. No sign of him. And no sign of the 5 million man Michelangelo Balikwisha, who I think it's maybe fair to say at this stage, it looks as if his race could be run. If you count Martin's 2 spells and Wilfred Nancy and Brendan Rodgers, none of them have seen anything in this guy, which would lead me to believe there isn't actually anything there. to see. Any shocks, Phil, when you've seen the team go up?
I agree with you. I think the biggest shock for me was, I know we'll get to talk about the transfers and all that later on, but it was the Stevie Welsh debacle for all the chat through the week about we're bringing him back as cover because, Simpson Pusey was even in the team, let's be honest. They're saying about Simpson Pusey leaving and it's to cover for that. Well, he's obviously doing that part because he's sitting in the stands like Simpson Pusey was, but yeah, for all the... he's got to be ahead of Dane Murray, as cover for Trusty and Scales. No, he wasn't. So it just begs the question: what's the end game with this one? Is he getting sold to Aberdeen? I think I said the other day that if he plays even a minute for us, because he's played a game for Motherwell this calendar year, he wouldn't be able to play for another club. So it's like, are we selling him? Is he just going to go right back to Motherwell? And again, that would also beg the question, what was the point? And in terms of the rest of the team, it was pretty much as you expect. I thought Hatate was a bit poor against Dundee United at the weekend. So Reegan coming in after coming off the bench and getting a goal, fair enough. And yeah, it's quite a damning and sobering thought, as you say. If imagine Reegan's goals weren't there this season, where would he be? As polarising a figure as he can be, without his goals, Jesus, scary thought.
The commentator said there at the end, 10 goals in 15 league starts. That's pretty impressive for someone who's not playing. Well, I was about to say he's not playing up front. That he did play up front for about 7 or 8 minutes tonight.
Yeah,
I think just to show exactly where we're at. Go back to Welsh. I think it's a straightforward one. I think you've got Trusty and Scales. Trusty is a bomb scare. He will cost us an important goal before the end of this season. Scales is limited. Dane Murray's not the answer. And I think it's simply a case of retaining the option to keep Stephen Welsh. We had to bring him back by today, or that option wouldn't be there. I think Martin O'Neill, in his wisdom, has absolutely no faith that he's going to get a centre-back in who is going to be of any use to us. And I think all he's done is he's just triggered that option to get him back, keep him on the premises. If we don't get someone in, then he's there and he's available if we need him. If we get someone in, then he can go back to Motherwell, or indeed he could be sold. So I think it made sense for me. It was a bit of a no-brainer. You could very well see him back at Motherwell again if we get someone in, but that's probably the biggest if of any if there's ever been. Game kicked off. I thought we were playing quite direct from the start. You could see we were trying to get the ball forward, playing a bit longer. Not sure if that was a tactic because of the pitch or whatever. The guys at the end, McGregor said it was very, very difficult pitch to play on. We talk about these pitches all the time, and as time goes by, the players are more used to them because they're training on them and all that kind of thing. And we can't say one day that the pitch doesn't really make a difference nowadays, and then turn around when we don't play well and say it was because of the pitch. But I felt we were trying to get the ball forward quicker, but I felt we looked slack at times, and I think Trusty was the main one. There were a few moments in the first 20-25 minutes where he was dallying on the ball. He just looked awkward, and I don't know. He's not been one that I've got an awful lot of faith in. And like I say, I think between now and these last 16 games, I think at some point he will cost us an important goal in an important game. We should have been behind in this game. First, I think there was about 3 chances for Falkirk midway through the first half. The first one came down the right-hand side where the guy absolutely roasted Kieran Tierney, cut across him, completely took him out of the game, rounded Smigel, and you're expecting the ball just to hit the net, and he's off balance a little bit and he screws it wide. But that was a warning that we should have heeded, really.
Indeed, perhaps under Wilfred Nancy, with the way things were going, that was hitting the back of the net. But for some reason, we saw with Martin O'Neill in his first little interim tenure, we seem to be able to grind these ugly results out where we get away with it essentially. But it was when he missed that, I was expecting the net to bulge as well, but he's just gone off balance. And I totally wrote, I think his name was Wilson, I think was the name of the right midfielder.
Yeah,
right
Wilson,
winger.
yeah.
He just left Tierney for dead. And I's done everything right, bar the finish. And that was definitely a scare there. In regards to Trusty as well, I mean, we'll go through the sequence of the events of the game, but there's one late on in the game where I think 5 players were all involved in this one, where every one of them made a mistake, but it started with Trusty just dallying on the ball after a poor pass from McCown, and then Scales couldn't recover, then McGregor couldn't recover, and it ended with Schmeichel and to pull a good save.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh my God. And I think it goes back to we drew with Dundee at the start of last year up at Dens, and there was that moment where it zoomed in on Brendan Rodgers, just basically going weak as piss when he was talking about Austin Trusty. And he's just showing that he doesn't like the physicality. In Falkirk tonight, they don't even have that many big lumps in their team, but for some reason our players were bouncing off them tonight. There's so many moments where they were breaking on us. In the first half in particular, I noticed it. And Tunekti was running alongside him, trying to shoulder the guy off the ball, and he was just bouncing off the guy. It seemed like every Celtic player, just the physicality, they could not match Falkirk at all at times. And Trusty, as I say, he doesn't seem to like physicality. He looks spooked at times tonight. And I agree with your summary there, that there is a big risk that he will be at the centre of a goal we're going to lose between now and the end of the season, maybe more. But we're doing it to bare bones. This is literally the best centre-back combination we can field right now. That's where we're at.
We got to deal with that one. And there was another one a couple of minutes later where I think it was Stewart was in. And then a third one a couple of minutes after that where Tunecki gets dispossessed for about the 50th time in 25 minutes, and they hit us on the break, and the guy doesn't do well enough whenever they get a chance. So that was 3 real warning shots fired midway through that first half. It just felt to me everything we did, we either overhit it by miles or we underhit it by miles. We just couldn't get anything right at all. The pitch maybe has something to do with that. I just think we're not very good, and it seems to be this season when we're not very good, it's not just 1 or 2 players. It's 7, 8, 9, 10, the entire team all at the same time. Fair play to Falkirk, Phil. I think they deserve a bit of credit. They came into this game with 6 clean sheets out of 9, and you can see why, because we didn't cut them open very often at all. You can see why they've been hard to break down. They've got plaudits against us before whenever we've played them. We've ran out comfortable winners, but they got plaudits for their style. I thought they were a very difficult opponent tonight. Definitely. Really, really hard to break down. When they were on the ball in possession, they weren't rushed. They were confident. They were comfortable. So fair play to them for making it so difficult for us. And if you're a Falkirk fan or you're Falkirk players or manager, you can feel you deserve to get at least something out of that game.
Yeah. The thing is, a way to sort of look at it, a sort of angle to look at the forms, because I've seen in the chat as well a lot of people similar sentiments saying, "Oh, it was an ugly watch" and whatnot. And we're obviously sitting here highlighting that it showed that the teams maybe, well, we know it wasn't that good anyway with the state we're in right now. But look at it this way, I don't think you would have found a Celtic fan in the run-up to tonight's game saying, "We're going to go there and scoosh it. We'll go there and we'll beat Falkirk easily." Everybody was quite aware that Falkirk are quite a decent team on the home patch. I think every Celtic fan worldwide was expecting a difficult game. It turned out that way. It was a difficult game, but we got the victory. So it was ugly to watch, yeah, but it played out exactly how majority of fans predicted. It wasn't like, say, we went in there and then we were shell-shocked by Falkirk playing so well. Everybody could see that coming. And we've managed to stand up to it. And say a few weeks ago under Wilfred, we don't win that game. We don't win that game. So I think I'd actually highlighted a comment earlier on which said that, there you go, Spfl Goffin said that, we'd have lost that under Wilfred Nancy. And it's just weird how, I don't know if you want to call it luck. I know Wilfred Nancy said at one point, I don't have much luck, or he's not had much, but it is a weird thing. There was even a moment against Dundee United at the weekend there where we had a bit of a defensive mix-up, but still 1-0. And the Dundee United player goes through, Schmeichel manages to make himself big and save it, but a week before, it would end up in the back of the net probably. It's just strange how it works out sometimes. But in terms of, say, looking at it from a different angle tonight, rather than, we got lucky and whatnot. It was a hard game, as many people predicted it would be, and we stood up to the test and managed to get out of there with the victory.
Hi, Paul McFarlane. It was great to see you on with Conor the other night, mate. Hope you're doing well. Best comment on the internet tonight, without doubt, is this one. I'm getting all hot and bothered here. Phil, the key moment of the game, the only real moment of quality from Celtic. Myself and Liam were bemoaning the lack of set-piece goals compared to our two title rivals. And lo and behold, in the next game, we score from a corner. Arnie Engels' delivery. And it's a really good finish from Reegan. And again, it's something he showed us before. He's not a massive guy, but he seems to be reasonably good at timing his runs and being in the right place at the right time.
It was very similar to one that he scored already this season against Sturm Graz, I want to say. Yeah. That might be the last time we scored off a corner, maybe. There's a few this season. I know Dane Murray got one against Falkirk in the cup early in the season, but yeah, Reegan definitely scored one, an Engels corner, whipped in, and yeah, he's just there, right place. There was, and again, this is just the way football is nowadays, Terry. I don't know if you're the same as me, with VAR being the way it is, you're always a wee bit wary. Is there something like you see Scott Bain or something, but that's a natural instinct, I think, for any goalkeeper to always complain about something. And I saw a Falkirk player on the ground, and I'm just waiting for there's going to be a VAR thing or something here. But no, when you see the replay, clean as you like, the player that's down from Falkirk doesn't seem to complain about it. And yeah, it was just a right place, right time. And you pointed out earlier about if his goals aren't in this team, where the hell are we right now? Is I believe it's Marmite into it. You love it or you hate it. As Marmite as Benjamin Reegan can be this season for many fans. His goal contributions are basically keeping us where we are right now, keeping us in it by the skin of our teeth. But yeah, it was a good header, and the only real bit of quality from us for the entire 90 minutes, realistically.
Yeah. It's the last moment that I've made a note of that, other than Kasper Schmeichel's save, of anything of any real note from a Celtic perspective. We made a couple of changes, took off the two wingers, Yang. As much as he's been brilliant in the last couple of games, he was quiet tonight. Taneki, we've already touched on, he was replaced by Hatate. So what happened then was McCown went onto the right-hand side, where he's really only played under Martin O'Neill in his previous short stint. Dyson Maida went out onto the left, and we then played without a centre forward for 7 or 8 minutes. Benjamin Reegan was probably the most central advanced player at the exact same time as we were playing with Benjamin Reegan as our centre forward. A proper centre forward, Lawrence Shankland, put the ball in the net to give Hearts the lead, and showed just how important it is to have a striker who is natural in that position and knows where the net is.
Was that us demonstrating in a literal sense a lack of striker by not fielding an actual striker at that point in time? Because that did kind of sum it up. Again, you look at the bench options. That's one of the things I always do when the lineup comes out, is you want to look at the options on the bench. If we're in a sticky situation, we're in the trenches here in this game, who can you turn to on that bench that you can bring on? And again, Johnny Kenny was the only striker. In terms of forward options, James Forrest obviously was there, but in 2026, you really have to rely on James Forrest as much as he gives for the club, and he's done over the years. You mentioned earlier on about Balakisha, nowhere to be seen. I heard tonight as well, apparently all his references to Celtic have disappeared off of his Instagram account. A mate of mine messaged me on WhatsApp to point that out, so read into that what you will.
Hopefully he disappears off ours too.
I can't think of many things he's done in a Celtic shirt that he could be highlighting on his Instagram page, so there ain't much there to even delete in the first place. But yeah, that just summed it up with the Reegan moment going up front. But again, with his goals that he scored, they talk about the false nine, one of these modern day tactics of football, and I guess he is that kind of hybrid player where he is a midfielder, but he has got that instinct to get into the box and whatnot with the number of goals he scored. So it made the most sense at the time. But again, we keep coming back to the same point. a striker is probably two strikers is so crucial right now. As your graphic says in the top corner there, for 14 days into this transfer window and still nothing at all. And Kyogo's been away for about a year now. Adam Reeder's been away for about 6 months. And here we are with Johnny Kenny, Shin Yamada sitting in the stand, and an out of form Dyson Maeda having to play through the middle at times, and Ian Atchell in the treatment room more than on the park. That's where we are. So I just can't. Well, I can believe it at the same time. This is the frustrating bit, Terry. I can and cannot believe it at the same time that we're in this position, because we've all read this chapter before, mate. We've all seen this, and being surprised by it, you just don't be surprised anymore. You just can't be.
And as each day ticks by, Phil, your what's the word I'm looking for? The level of player that you'd like us to get, you kind of dilute it as each day goes by through the window, and come the end of it, you'd just be happy to get anybody in through the door that has remotely got centre forward on their CV. I remember during the summer. During the summer when the names were getting linked, and we were turning our nose up at Jimmy Vardy. Can you imagine if we had got him? He's done okay out in it. Like,
he won Player of the Month, I think, for November. I think he won Player of the Month in the Serie A, and it's like, there you go, Jamie Vardy, still got something there to offer.
The names you get, you turn your nose up, but then you start, as the clock just keeps ticking, you start to go, actually, no, we'll just take him, and that's where I'm at with some of the names. Bailly, I suppose, is one that isn't going away. I haven't seen enough of him. He hasn't stood out in any games that I've watched, whether we were involved or whether I've just happened to watch a game that Hibs were playing, and he hasn't completely stood out. That's not me saying he doesn't have qualities. The bit that frustrates me is it's expressing an interest, asking to be kept up to date if there's any interest. If he's the guy, just go and get him. Do you know what I mean? If he's the one, just go and get him. If they want 6 million, you're not in a position to bargain here. You've just got to get the deal done. And we'll touch on the next few games as well. But our next league game is at Tynecastle. And my thoughts are, if we lose that game, our goose is cooked. If we're 9 points behind after that match, I don't see us winning it. So that game is of massive, massive importance. And we're now looking at a scenario now where even if we bring someone in before then, that could be their first league game playing for Celtic at Tynecastle. And you know what I mean? So really, really disappointed. I just wish they would just identify someone, say he's the guy, and go and get him. And see at this stage, see if we're bringing in people who are proven in the SPL. As I say, my expectation levels are so low, I probably would settle for that. If you're bringing in someone like him, he doesn't have to acclimatise. He probably doesn't have to move home. You know that he knows the league, he knows the teams. There's boxes ticked there already. Whereas if you go and you bring in someone from some of the leagues across Europe or even further afield, South America or anything like that, there's so many of those boxes that need to be ticked before you can then start even thinking, can this guy add value when he's on the park?
That is the key. We've seen this enough times with Celtic about when they do bring players in, how long it takes them up to speed. It now has to be somebody that is going to hit the ground running. We've seen already this season plenty of times with a player who's lacking fitness getting thrown in. What happens to them? They tend to obviously pull their hamstring and come back too quickly for injury, pull their hamstring again. Bowie would make sense in that category because he's been playing week in, week out. I was a bit the same as you initially when Bowie's name's been... I mean, it's not just came up this window. Bowie's name's came up a few times. Again, it could just be lazy journalism because he's right there effectively on your doorstep because he's Scottish, he's playing in this league. But obviously after his wonder goal at the start of the season against Partizan Belgrade, like, I don't know, maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention, but I felt like his name wasn't coming up much in terms of goals, but he is in double figures, I believe, this season. Yeah, in terms of number of goals. I think he's on, although I say double figures, I think it's 10 or just squeaking past 10. But again, we do need it to be somebody that can come in and just adapt right away. But with some of the stuff we've heard through the week, some of the names that have come up, like that boy Bamba, who's got 1 goal and 15 appearances for Lorient in France. And it's like, again, that just reeks of somebody, again, that's not had much game time. Can you really trust them in this position? Because you're totally right. In 10 days now, I mean, this is a season-defining game now in 10 days. Like, it was already a must-win game, and it really is now with the way things are. And unless we have an absolutely storming next 10 days to try and iron out some of the problems in this team, it's going to be a slog, because Hearts have shown they're not going anywhere. They know how to grind out a result. Even with 10 men, that's 2 games in a row they've been doing to 10 men, and they've still managed to get a result and not concede a goal as well. It's going to be a tough one. Of course, anything can happen on the day, and I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't sit here and say that we're beaten before we've even played here, but we need to address a lot of issues, and unfortunately, it's the issues above Martin O'Neill and above the management team right now that we keep coming back to. How they can not be addressing this and with more urgency. We talk about how they love, all these stereotypes about the Dermot Desmonds of the world, about the bonuses and all that. And it's like, well, winning the league and getting into the Champions League is surely the goal here. It's like, well, we're doing everything in our power to set it up that doesn't happen. And it's like, we need to act so fast here. But again, don't hold your breath, Terry. As we've been along this road before with these transfer windows, and yeah, we just need to batten down the hatches and pray that in the next 10 days we have some big names coming in, some serious movement about guys who can come in and start, not project signings, not guys who in 2 years' time, or they might make it into the first team, guys who are going to come in right now and improve this first 11, so that we've got the best chance possible to go to Tynecastle and win.
The piece the record done last night, it went out around about 10:30. It didn't tell us anything that we didn't know, but I think when you're getting quotes from Martin O'Neill telling you what you thought you already knew, it just really brings it all home. It feels as if the people brought in are going to be with a 5-month view, and I expect it to be loan signings for the most part. And do you know how bad it is? And again, this will not be a popular one, but this is just how little confidence I have that we're going to get anyone of any real quality in. I would take Dykes for the rest of the season on loan, not as your first choice centre forward, but as someone you can throw on and try a different approach if you're 20 minutes to go and you need a goal. Something
a big lump. It's a big target man to hit up top. I think you would need a wee man off to be running off him to get the types of balls, but we need to shake it up in some way, because there was so many moments tonight where we're playing out from the back. In fact, you know what? It just felt like we're winding to the start of the season, the first few months under Brendan, where a lot of the games were basically coming out for the back, not really getting anywhere, pass it sideways, pass it back the way. So many times like that happened. Instead of, a wee bit more conviction to go forward, a wee bit more risk taking. There was a couple of moments. There was one in the first half that really stood out to me where Benjamin Reegan did this all night. And again, I know he scored the goal. We keep coming back to it. Obviously, his goal contribution has been massive this season, but this is one of the things that really ups me about Benjamin Reegan, the style of play. He always comes short for the ball and just passes it straight back in the direction it's came. There was one in the first half in particular. He had his back to goal, and there was no Falkirk players within about 20 yards of him. He's about 30 yards for goal, and the ball comes into his feet. And if he gets on the ball and turns and then drives towards the goal, he had a lot of open space on him in front of him. But instead, the ball came into his feet and he just passed it straight back the way. And it's like things like that. And there's so many moments if you watch him where he just comes short. He makes himself an option, which is fine. That's good. He's made himself an option. He isn't hiding. But he comes short, gets the ball, and instantly just goes right back to me. And it's like we need to show a bit more urgency, because what happens is when we start to slow down like that and we're very pedestrian, you saw it when Falkirk began pressing us. Look how spooked we were at the back at times tonight. trying to break the press. There was moments where we tried to press Falkirk and they just very easily passed it in a little triangle and out. And it's like we saw Motherwell do it a couple of years ago. Granted, that was under Wilfred Nancy, and our shape, I don't even know what our shape was under Wilfred Nancy. One thing you can say is we do have a bit more of a regimented feel about us now. We have a bit more of a stability to us. But yeah, when we are slowing it down too much, like we were doing at the start of the season under Brendan, and tonight it's like when teams do start to press us, we do still look a bit panic stricken. And yeah, we've got to get out of that mode. We have to start taking a few more chances and being a bit braver. I get the whole adage of if they don't have the ball, they can't score. But if we've got loads of the ball and we're not doing anything with it, what are you really achieving, Terry?
Yeah. Jim C makes a good point. Fulham have got a 40% sell-on fee for Bhoys. So obviously Hibs, they want to make some kind of profit on him if he goes. That's nearly half of the fee that would go to Fulham. So that's why they're looking for big dough. Will they get it? Probably not from us anyway.
Oh well, yeah, I suppose.
I mean, reading between the lines and looking at all the quotes from the manager and bits and pieces, it feels to me that he would like to bring in a centre half, hopefully one that's better than the ones that we've got. It would need to be. It'd be hard to find a centre half who's not better than the three that we've got at the minute, or four if you want to throw Welsh in there. Yeah. Centre forward, obviously, preferably two. I think it needs to be two.
I agree.
And a right winger. But until I see somebody stand with that scarf, I'm done researching people and trying to imagine what kind of job they can do for us if they come in. I'm just done. It's just name after name after name. And as I say, the names that you're getting at the minute, you don't know any of them. The Callum Wilson one's one that's not going away, Phil. But I don't actually think there's been an actual link between Celtic and Callum Wilson. I think it all stemmed from Chris Sutton making a comment, and then other pundits and ex-players have jumped on and said, yeah, that would be a good move. But I don't actually know if there's been any kind of actual link with Callum Wilson. If he was coming in for 5 months and you could rely on him playing, I'd be on for that as well. But you can see it straight away. He'd come in and he'd pull a hammy in the first game, and that'll be him for 3 months.
Ian Atchell will have a pal to talk to in the treatment room. But no, I think the Wilson one is doing the rounds just because it's an easy link. Premier League player been made out of contract because he was on a pay-as-you-play deal at West Ham because of his checkered injury history in the last few years. Obviously, age and injuries have caught up to him. He was obviously the prime of his career playing for Bournemouth in the sort of late 2010s under Eddie Howe. He was fantastic, and he did all right in Newcastle when he went there. But yeah, injury took the better of him. I think he would if he stayed fit. Yeah, I think he would be class. The same with Ian. I think Ian Atchell's good, but again, it's keeping him fit. That's the problem. And right now, we need guys that are going to come in and hit the ground running. And you just don't know where Wilson. It seems very plausible what you just said there. He could come in. First 10 minutes, he's going hell for leather, really trying. Hamstring goes, and then he's out for who knows how long. So, yeah, that's where we're at right now. But I don't think we have made any contact. I do feel like it's just sort of lazy journalism because he's available and he's a name from the Premier League that's on a free transfer. Kind of ticks a few boxes there. But if honestly, we keep hearing, Martin News began saying the lines that Brendan was churning out about working hard in the background. Again, I really hope that's the case. But I really, really do. I don't know how much benefit of the doubt it can give them at this stage, but yeah, striker, my God, like we need. I think that's also partly playing into what we saw tonight, and see going back to the start of the season about how the final third we just didn't have a real creative spark, and it just feels like when we get the ball through the midfield and get towards the final third, well, it's just basically coming back to me. We just need something up there that's just exciting and can win his games, and it feels like our three forwards are never really in tandem with each other as well. The two wingers and the one through the middle. And it's definitely the priority area right now, for a shadow of a doubt. And I just hope to God they are working on something because, again, 10 days, Tynecastle, Jesus, man, it needs to be better than what we've got right now up there.
Phil, it could have been a lot worse. You did describe the moment towards the end where it was just calamity after calamity at the back, and he wasn't a clown tonight. Tonight he pulled us out with an excellent save. His dad being at training, maybe he's showing him how to do it. But that was a cracking.
He was at the game tonight as well. I saw that Peter Schmeichel was in the crowd as well.
That was a cracking save. You know, we're a bit despondent. Well, I feel a bit despondent here just because of what I've watched, and I'm fearful of what I'm going to watch in the next weeks and months. We won the game, whether we played well, whether we deserved to win the game, whether we created chances. No matter what, we won the game. We got the 3 points, and his save was crucial for that. And the result of all of that is that it's status quo at the top. We're now down to a 16-game mini league with Hearts on 50, Celtic on 44, and Rangers also on 44. So 16 games to decide this crazy season in the Scottish Premier League. Who have we got up next? Well, we've got up at the top there, which I've cut off, is the cup game at the weekend. So away to Auchinleck Talbot, albeit at Kilmarnock. Again, it's going to be another artificial surface. Then we've got Bologna away, which is a precursor to the visit to Tynecastle. So not to look too far ahead, but that Bologna game doesn't come at a great time for us because Hearts are going to have all the time they need to prepare for that one game. We're going to be flying to Italy. We're going to, I would imagine, be doing a lot of chasing of the ball on the Thursday night. Then we're coming back on Friday probably and going into what is now the biggest game of this season, and one that we just cannot afford to lose.
It's an unwanted distraction. I think, though, the way the Europa League campaign is panning out, not the 10 points is going to guarantee it because our goal difference is obviously in the negatives just now. But I think that if we're thinking about the European stuff, I think the Utrecht game is a game to target. Yeah. I would genuinely look at the Bologna game as maybe field a few of the second string ones because that was going to be a tough game regardless of what was coming after it. Bologna away, they won the equivalent of the FA Cup in Italy last season, the Coppa Italia, so they're obviously no mugs. But we've got a home game with Utrecht coming up. A win there does take us to 10 points. Obviously, it'd be great if we could get something in Bologna. I say right now, that's not the priority. The priority is the Hearts game. And for me, I would be looking, if I'm Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney and Big Fozzie, you're looking at a bit of rotation for that Bologna game and try and keep the strongest core of the team available and ready because the Bologna game isn't win or bust. The Hearts game is, for me, win or bust, essentially. Did you say 9 points? I know that, argued still 15 games to go, but that is a big gap at this stage if we were to lose that. So, we need to be going to Tynecastle and giving ourselves the best chance we can, Terry.
How much second string are you talking here? Are you talking like the likes of Luke McKayan and guys like that, or are you talking Shin Yamada second string?
I don't think Yamada didn't even get registered, did he? Yamada didn't get registered for the European squad. I think that was a thing, didn't he?
He did say.
I mean, to be fair, the amount of injuries we've got right now, we're kind of eating into the second string with some of the players that are starting because Araujo can't start out there, so it's going to have to be Ralston or Donovan. So one of them plays, keep Araujo fit for the trip to Glasgow because he's looked no bad. Without being spectacular so far, he's looked okay compared to what we were having with Anthony Ralston. I think Araujo's been all right. Tierney, I would probably give him a rest. We know what he's like with playing too many games. Is it a case, though, that then Liam Scales goes to left back because Sarachi's still injured? And then does Dane Murray start? So these are the type of things, because we're so injury prone right now. We're probably eating into our second string at times. So you've got to try and keep McGregor ready for Tynecastle if it's a case of he gets rested, but he's a club captain. He seems to play every single game. Maybe give James Forrest a start in Bologna. Maybe something like that. Give him some mints in the legs. And Yang is still almost on for him winger, even though he was pretty poor tonight. So does Forrest come in there? These are the types of things you've got to think about. But the Hearts game is so imperative that we are at the strongest we can be, because it's a season-defining game as it stands right now.
I don't see him. I don't see him doing that, Phil. I see him going full strength in the Bologna game. And my only hope is that we have a new centre forward, and we're trying to bet him in at that stage. See just on the Tierney one, if we had another option at left back, you would imagine Tierney may not have played tonight, or I mean, he might end up playing against Talbot as well, and that's 2 games in a row on an artificial pitch for a guy with his injury record, and that's again an indictment of where we're at. We have to play him because we've nothing else.
Square pegs and round holes. We're just having to patch it up and make it work from one game to another. You know, just for the way things are, just the gross mismanagement of the squad from the top. And this is where we find ourselves. Obviously, if all these players that are injured are back, I mean, Celtic's team's no bad when you look at it, but sadly we're in a position where Carter Vickers is out. We've learned that Jota is now going to miss the rest of the season. We were all pinning our hopes on Jota being back around February, March time. Seems like that's not going to happen now. Alistair Johnson, they're talking March, April. The season's pretty much over by that point. By the time we get to April, you've got like 5 weeks left at that stage. How many weeks would he need to get up to full speed? Ian Atchell's been in and out with injury. So again, it's where we're at. So if it's a case of it has to be loan deals coming into the end of the season, then that's the way it's going to have to be. But even at that those rumours are even slowing up right now, and we're not seeing anything concrete. So again, it just beggars belief that it's like you would just think that they would be more, feel more urgent about this, but it's so weird and lackadaisical the way they're going about it. But it's out of our hands right now, Terry. There's nothing that we can do as fans. We can only just come on shows like this and just vent about it. But they don't seem to be moving at an alarming pace here.
My only hope, Phil, is that O'Neill can use his contacts, and he must have an extensive contact.
Surely.
He's the chairman of the LMA. I'd imagine he's got every single manager's phone number across the entire English pyramid. I think he'll be trying to call in favours. Again, World Cup year might play in our favour that you've got a guy with, I don't know, an EPL team. He's not getting a lot of game time, and he wants to try and get into the World Cup. The other side of that is, though, if you're bringing in somebody who hasn't been playing much, are they going to come in and hit the ground run? I mean, Araujo was in that boat, and I suppose he's done okay when he's come in. He looks hungry. He looks like a player that's trying to win himself a place in a World Cup, if you know what I mean. He was celebrating tonight where he cleared the ball off the striker and went out for a goal kick, and you could see him celebrating. So he looks to have bought into things, albeit he's got his own agenda there. But I just think it'll be O'Neill down south and calling in a few favours, and
I think so.
That's probably our best option. It's certainly better than the lists that were left in politics drawer.
Those lists should be thrown right in the paper shredder right now, because I'm not too confident about any names that were linked under the Tisdale regime, as we've seen over the last year that he's been here. It feels like he's been here longer, but it seems like it's only just over a year he was with the club. But he it's going to have to be
the mess that he's caused will be here for a lot longer than he was.
That's the problem. Yeah, that is a big problem, and it has to be a Neil. I mean, we saw what Brendan's done over the last 2 years. The Schmeichel move was clearly Brendan getting frustrated with what the club was offering for a goalkeeper, and he obviously called in that favour, getting Schmeichel in. And regardless, I know Schmeichel this season in particular has been, very much on the decline. Last season, none of us were saying many bad things about him then. And the actual one, I mean, we had to wait till the bloody window had closed in the summer, and it was a day later we managed to get him in just in time for the European deadline. But that's again. So he's going to have to be the same way. Neil, I think you're right. He's going to have to try and call in some favours there with other coaches and managers that he knows and players that he's worked with in the past or whatnot. Then it might have to go that way, because somebody has to take some kind of charge right now, and it just feels like they are just coasting. As Big Fozzie, his favourite word, if you coast, that's very much what they're doing right now. The whole hierarchy are coasting towards a disaster at this stage. And again, it's like we need to we need to have some serious reinforcements in. And the Talbot game, obviously, hopefully it's not famous last words I'm about to say. That should take care of itself. The Bologna game, I think you've got a point. He probably will play a strong team there. But say for me personally, I wouldn't be looking at that. But yeah, they say it should be all focused on Hearts. It really should be that.
Okay, what's coming up, Phil, on the bus this week is yourself and Liam. Is that the next show we've got?
Yeah, we'll be on Friday night for the usual Friday feeling. Look ahead to the Auchinleck Talbot game in the Cup, because amazingly, in the position we're in, there is still a double to be won. It is still there for Celtic to go and do it, but they need to make some serious changes between now and the end of the window. But yeah, we'll look at try and get back on track of the Scottish Cup after blowing it last season in the final against Aberdeen. So yeah, we'll be on to do that on Friday night as usual. I think Johnny might be back as well. I think he's got a few weeks off, so he might join us as well on Friday night. And then Sunday 5:30 kickoff, I believe it is. We thought,
yeah.
Honestly, what the hell sort of kickoff is that? But yeah, down at Rugby Park.
No. Okay, I'm starting to flag a bit, Phil. So we'll close out. Thank goodness that this guy knows where the back of the net is, and that tonight this guy knew how to keep the ball out of his net. I'll be back after the Auchinleck Talbot game just to go through and pick the bones of that. Hopefully we've got some new players in. Hopefully we're able to sign someone who's a little bit good at football or something like that. But until then, thank you very much to everyone who's been on. Almost 200 still there in the chat. So thank you very, very much. And we'll see you soon. Cheers.
Yep. See you in the next.